guys, today I wanted to tell you guys something about horses. So instead of getting you to watch some random YouTube video, I thought I'd make my own. So this is George, and he's a horse. And as you can see, he has eyes on the side of his head, and his ears, his hearing is really good, and he has nostrils, and his sense of smell is really good. And that's because he's a prey animal. So in the wild, they have a lot of predators, like wolves, or mountain lions or bears, so they want to be able to sense their predators and their prey animals. Okay, so horses, they eat a lot of grass, they eat hay, they eat grain, they're grazers, kind of like a cow. And they also, because they're prey animals, they can spook pretty easily or be startled. So when you're around horses, you want to make sure they know you're here. So if I'm coming up from behind George, if I'm over here, not behind George, he can see me, he's watching me, but if I was coming up behind him, I'd want to say, "Hey George, here I am," so he knows I'm here. If he gets spooked or startled, he might jump backwards or forward or freak out, and I want to make sure he knows I'm here so he doesn't spook, because that can be dangerous if you're riding a horse or hanging out with him. So, and this is Torino, by the way. That's Torino. So, when you're walking around them, you want to give them plenty of space. So if I'm walking around the front, I want to give him some space. If I'm walking around the side, I might want to touch him so he knows I'm coming around his side. And I want to give him lots of room around his back, because I don't want him to kick me. So I'm going to give him lots of space. Alright. So, many people, and I heard some of you guys ask, what's the difference between horses and ponies? So the difference between horses and ponies is really not anything except for the height. So Torino is a horse because he's very tall. Horses are measured in hands instead of feet. So a hand is like 4.5 inches. It's supposed to be like the average width of somebody's hand. So if I would measure him in hands, I'd start at the ground and work my way up, all the way up to his withers, and I would measure him with my hands. If he were taller than 14.2 of my hands, which is about 4 feet 10 inches, then he's a horse. If he's smaller than that, then he's a pony. And Torino is a horse. And I'm not sure how many hands he is, but he's taller than that because he's pretty big. Okay. Oh, I wanted to tell you guys about racehorses. So as we talked about before, horses are used for racing a lot. And that's how Pennsylvania people get a lot of money for horses. So they're raised to be racehorses, they're bred to be really fast and agile. So what they do is they breed a mare, which is a female horse, and they breed a male horse, which is a stallion. And they want to breed horses that are really fast, so they have babies that are really fast. A baby horse is a foal, a girl baby horse is a filly, and a baby boy horse is a colt. So Torino was once a baby colt, and he turned into a stallion, and he's actually a gelding now, which means he was neutered, and so was George. So you don't actually want to have a lot of stallions around, and usually you don't ever want to have a stallion around unless you're breeding horses, because they can be kind of mean and a little bit aggressive and stuff like that. So if you're into racehorses or movies, you can watch a lot of movies about racehorses. One of them is Seabiscuit, and Seabiscuit was a famous underdog horse who beat some crazy fast horse named War Admiral, and War Admiral won Triple Crown, and Seabiscuit beat him, so it was a pretty big deal. So if you want to watch that movie this weekend, you can. It's pretty good. You can get extra credit. So, what else do I want to tell you guys? Okay, oh yeah. Just like we were talking about cows and cows and goats and chickens being all different kinds of breeds, they're all different kinds of breeds of horses. So you may have heard of Arabian horses, quarter horses, thoroughbred horses. Those are all different breeds of horses, and they're bred for different things. So like a thoroughbred is really fast usually. They're raised for horse racing. Quarter horses are usually really like go with the flow, pretty easy going, and they can be like fast at sprinting. So they're used a lot on like ranches and stuff like that, where people want their horses to be kind of calm, but also like fast and agile too. Torino wants to say hi. You want to say hi, Torino? Hi. Oh, they're also all different colors. So Torino is like chestnut, which is just a shade of brown. And there's all kinds of shades of brown. And they have different color manes, and they have different color tails, and they have like socks and stuff, so they can be shades of brown, black, white, or gray. Pretty cool. Horses may be used for transportation. So the most popular mode of transportation on a horse right now is riding them. So if I wanted to ride Torino, I would want to get a saddle and a saddle pad. And before I do that, I want to groom him. So when you're grooming a horse, you're basically just getting the dirt off and the hair off from underneath where the saddle is going to be, because you don't want all that nasty stuff to be underneath it. So I might come around the side with my brush and I would groom him. So I would brush down all his neck and all this stuff, and under where the saddle's going to be. So the saddle's going to be in this area, and I would just brush all of that off. And I'd also want to look at his hoofs. So I'd get like a hoof pick, and I would take the dirt out of his hoofs. And I would just want to make sure, is he okay to ride? Is he good today? Is he healthy? And make sure he's not lame. So if he's lame, it doesn't mean he's telling a bad joke. It means that his feet are like hurting him, or his leg hurts or something like that. So if you want to pick a horse's hoof, you just kind of lean into it. And he lifts it up so nicely. And you can see my butt. Oh no, you can see his hoof. And there's a lot of dirt in there. So I would get like a pick, and I'd pick it all out of there so he was having a nice clean hoof. And you can see he has a horseshoe, so that's kind of neat. Not all horses have horseshoes, just kind of an extra protection for a horse's foot. And you're probably wondering what I have in my hand. This is a halter. So this is not a bridle because it doesn't have a bit in it. A bit is something that goes on top of a horse's tongue so that you can control him when you're riding him. This is just for like bringing him around town or walking him up to the barn. So you put the halter on just like this. See if he wants it. He might have a mind of his own and not want a halter on today. Something like that. Oh, this one's too small, so we won't put it on. But this is a halter. It goes up around his ears and over his face, so you can walk him around. A bridle has a bit in it, like I said. It has reins, so that would go up over his shoulders so that you could steer him around when you're riding him. That gives you good control. And then the saddle would sit on his back, and that's where you would sit. And there would be stirrups on there, and I'll show you what that looks like on a picture. And you just basically put the balls of your feet in there, and so that you can kind of stand and move around while you're riding him. So that's what that's for. Horses can also be used to like plow a field or move a carriage around, or a wagon, or a sleigh. And if you want a horse to do that, then you'd want to put a harness on him. Oh, hey George. So a harness, I'll show you a picture of it, but it basically just connects them to whatever's moving so they can do some work. These horses, Torino would be used for a harness because he's nice and big and sturdy, but George probably not. Draft horses like Clydesdales, they hook them up to harnesses to move around. Oh, now George wants to be in the picture. There you go. Oh, so at this stable, so a stable is a place where horses are kept. There's a riding instructor, so her name is Anita. So there's like a riding ring where you can go and you can ride around and go jumps and stuff like that. The riding instructor gives lessons to people who have money to pay for lessons, and then they can learn how to ride a horse. There are also other people who work with horses. There's trainers. So a trainer would work with a horse who has never been ridden before, or who has, and teach them how to do some things like be ridden by a person, or also how to do tricks and stuff for movies or commercials, things like that. There's also vets who keep the horses healthy. There's farriers who actually take care of their feet. There's horse dentists that take care of horses' teeth. And they get paid really well for that. And then there's also people like jockeys who race horses, who ride them, and other types of people like stable hands. So if you look at me, if you look at the person taking the video, we actually used to work here, and sometimes still do. So those people are called stable hands because they give a hand, they lend a hand to help in the stable. And there's also people who are called stable managers. So here it's the riding instructor, she manages the farm. But sometimes, like on a huge farm, they might have a couple managers who come in and they make sure all the horses are being taken care of, they're being led out into the right pastures, and they're getting enough to eat and their poop's getting taken away. So that's basically the jobs that are related to horses. And I hope you guys enjoyed this show, and I hope you're not missing me too much. So my friend Sarah Lynn here is going to do an activity, which is how you should not act around horses. She's obviously, you can see she's making quick movements, and the horse's ears are going back and front, and that just means, what in the world is she doing? See, so he's kind of like startled. He's like, what is she doing? So don't act like that around horses, and thank you, bye. So now we're in the tack shed, or the tack room, and in the tack room you can see there's lots of tack. So tack is like a bridle or a saddle. This is the bridle, and this is the bit I was telling you about. So the bit, you remember, goes in the horse's mouth and it kind of steers him around. So the bit's attached to the reins, and the reins you would hold in your hands as you're riding the horse. And if you want it to go this way, you pull it this way. If you want the horse to go the other way, to the left, you pull it that way, and it would go around to the left. So that's what a bridle's for. The saddle's over here. So a saddle goes up on the horse. This is the front, and this is the back. This is an English saddle. So it looks a little different from a Western saddle, which is bigger. So you can see on the saddle, there are stirrups, or irons you might call them, and that's where your foot will go in. So I'm gonna really awkwardly do this. If I were sitting on the saddle, my foot should look kind of like that, right in the stirrup. Okay, and that kind of keeps your feet balanced on there, and then your butt goes right in here, so you can ride the horse. This is the girth. The girth goes around the bottom of the saddle, attaches to the horse's belly underneath. So you want to have your girth nice and tight so your saddle doesn't slip down and your body doesn't slip around, because then you could be riding the horse underneath the horse instead of on top of the horse, and that's when you're in a bad situation. Sarah Lynn, that's for horses, not for people. No, Sarah Lynn, that's for horses, not for people. Don't worry, I have cookies at my house from the bake sale.